would you say that there's a difference between just having a job or a career versus recognizing that this is a particular vocation, this is how I, it's part of my fulfilling my call? What's the difference between just having a job and a career and, let's say, having a vocation, and understanding this as really the way I express my Christian faith, in your case, in the business world? Is there a difference?
I think it all depends on how much you embrace your faith, if there's a difference or not. I'm, as you can tell, very into what I do, so it's very much part of, I wouldn't say that my business is a vocation. I didn't set out to go to be a buyer or contract manager or do what I'm doing. I just kind of was, that path came to me and I went down it and I liked it. I just happened to like what I do. Dealing with suppliers, negotiating, meeting people. Like I said, I got to travel the world. But I never lose my faith so that it can be a ministry, it can be a vocation. It may not just be a prominent one at the head of what I do. But as long as I'm faith-based, as long as I remember how I was brought up, my faith in God, I think that would come through with anything that you do. Whether it's an attorney, like Elena said, it just naturally comes to the forefront that you're a compassionate, loving, understanding human being, no matter what you do. And it doesn't mean I can't be ruthless at the bargaining table with what I want. But when I do that, it does show that I'm still a Christian person and that I'm not offensive to whatever they're bringing to the table. It really sets you to your character. It gives you your character. Whatever business you're in, you have to have character. And I think being as faithful as I am, that helps me for people to perceive that, and that it helps me job to become a vocation and a career. And then they start asking me questions about my church. So it kind of roundabout, we always come back to that. I go to work and they always say, so what's new with the church? You're building a church. So they're starting to ask all my non-Orthodox friends, how's it going? They go on to our website. How's the church coming? They look, oh, you have all these programs. I might bring one of them to the church. We're set out to do that. That's not my prominent thing when I go to work, but you never know what happens. So it could happen. I use them to be open to it and see what's, but not be overly zealous about it, as one of my Catholic friends calls me a zealot because I'm so zealous about my faith. But so it's a balance. It's a balance.
It's a balance. I want to open that question up to the rest of the panel. In your minds, what is the difference between having a job or a career and recognizing that what you do is a ministry connected to the church and to your own spiritual life in Christ? What's the difference? Good on this.
I'll add, oftentimes we have this conversation at the monastery between the nuns, and because we wear clerical clothing, it's easy for people to see that we're connected to a religion if we go out in public or something. So that's an obvious thing, that we are, in a way, we're not exactly lay people, but we're not ordained, but there's something different, and yes, I think I would categorize myself as different than Mr. Kulos or Elena, because I do my vocation 24 hours a day. But at the same time, I think that all Christians are called to the same thing. That we're all called to the same spiritual life. We're called to show compassion to others, to help other people. And just because I live in a monastery doesn't mean that I shouldn't be helping the poor too, or helping the people that come to the monastery and showing compassion and things like that.
Well, first of all, it's a blessing to have a vocation that's connected to the church, because I get to bring my faith into what I do every day. But when I take regular education and then take early childhood best practices and have to write the curriculum and make sure that it's in keeping with authentic orthodoxy, then I have work to do, and I read church fathers, and I read our current theologians like Father Jim Barris here, and I'm constantly learning about my faith, constantly, and it's taken me to new heights of appreciation and joy.
So it's a blessing, and it also sounds like a challenge as well.
It's a challenge too.
Great. Dr. Thomas, did you want to?
I was thinking, how would I come to the place where I was thinking of what I do as a ministry of the church as opposed to a job or career? And I think I've been taught that over a long, long period of time. So I guess what I was thinking about was the privilege that goes with even being able to think about that. It didn't, you know, I didn't do that myself. That came over a long period of time from my family, from the seminary, from mentors, from people who loved me and saw things in me that they thought could be worth developing. So I guess my first thought about it is it's just a privilege and a blessing to be able to even have that conceptualization of work and ministry together. And then the one word that I come back to with regard to this is stewardship. That I think of whatever I'm doing, and it certainly applies to my vocation, as an opportunity to move whatever is going on around me or in me, through me, in as much a way as it does build up other people and build up the church. And granted, I by no means am batting 1,000 on that, but the idea of that is something that's been formed and taught over a long period of time. And just a quick example, I was at a conference this past weekend, and it was with therapists, and they were talking about moments when they were providing therapy where they said something that just, they felt like they didn't say. It wasn't like somebody else said it, but the way they said it was, it wasn't me who said it, but it was said by me. And I think that kind of captures some of what it is. It's trying to move whatever it is around us or in us, through us, out.
Great. So this notion of vocation as a privilege, not just as a burden or a responsibility, but as a blessing and a privilege.